welcome to the End Zone along with Eddie RADOSEVICH joining us this week. I am Colby Daniels. Hope everyone has survived the roller coaster series that is the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. Eddie, you've got a smile on your face. You look great. You're still alive. I guess the heartbeat is still going.
The appearance is a lot better than what's going on inside my brain right now because this thing has been incredible. It's been a great series. I mean, I think that any NBA fan would say, what a series this has been. I'm sure there was a lot of people that were cheering for a Game 7, and this is what we get on Sunday.
That's right. You've had a little bit of everything in this series, right? You had the complete collapse in Game 1. You had the blowout in Game 2. Games 3 and 4 in Denver also offered something a little different. I felt incredibly lucky leaving the Paycom Center after Game 5 at like 1:30 in the morning, whatever time it was, to have had that experience, right? The slugfest in the fourth quarter that we saw, and then obviously Game 6 in Denver got away in the fourth quarter. But this series has absolutely delivered on all the storylines that everybody was hoping for going into the series.
Sure, and I think that you were fearful of what Jamal Murray could do. I didn't like the sickness thing coming out pregame
Bad
on
omen,
Thursday.
right? Because you knew he was going to play.
Yeah, well, because then you start venturing down this road like, is he not going to play? What a win that would be for the Thunder. And obviously, he played extremely well in the first quarter. He played extremely well throughout the night. Jokic has been great. It's kind of always interesting, too, when you get into these series that the narratives that are created from Game 1 to Game 2, and it's like, well, they can't close games out. And then you saw Game 3 and the overtime experience. But then Game 4, Game 5, the Thunder were able to close games out.
That's right.
And you come back, you feel like you've accomplished something, getting home court back, banking on the come from behind, just whatever that was on Thursday night. And you felt like you had a good spot, right? You're going up there, you got 2 games to win this. But the way things went down last night, I think it's in the back of your mind. The Denver Nuggets have played an extremely good amount of basketball in Game 7s. That's why you go into Sunday a little bit fearful, and especially with some of the narratives that came out of the game on Thursday night with J-Dub and just not really shooting the ball well. He hasn't shot the ball well here in the series, and we'll see. I mean, I think this is a big game, obviously, on Sunday for the rest of the season, but I think it's just a big game for a statement almost of, okay, is this team really ready to go take that next step into the Western Conference Finals?
Well, Mark Dagnall has talked about, this team is learning, and they're better right now than they were at the beginning of this series from some of the lessons they've learned throughout this series. Let's take a look back at game number 6, because this is an interesting one where I thought there were 2 big stretches that really defined the game. The final 2 minutes of the second quarter, where they have a 12-point lead, and then they give away a 12-0 run, and that lead is gone. Just with the snap of fingers, SGA picks up his 4th foul in that stretch, and that was obviously something that didn't necessarily carry over to the third quarter because they played back and forth basketball in the third quarter, but you lost the cushion that you had earned throughout that second quarter. And then obviously at the end of the third quarter, you have a tie ball game, and Denver in the final 2 minutes there goes on a 10-0 run. 8 of those points scored by Strother, who everybody's like, where did this guy come from?
Julian Strother.
And they were just never able to overcome that deficit that was created at the end of the third.
Completely agree with you. The final 3 minutes of the second half, or the second quarter, first half, that's where you lost the game. And it was kind of like how Denver lost the momentum going into halftime in Game 5, was the fact that you looked up and all of a sudden you were in a tight ball game. Obviously, Lou hit the 3 before the buzzer going into halftime, but you still felt pretty uncomfortable about it, and especially with SGA getting that 4th foul. That was kind of that turning point of you could have really stepped on it, maybe extended out to 16, 17-point leads. And I think that's kind of been the big thing, outside of Game 2, obviously, which was a butt kicking. But I think that you look at the Thunder or the Denver's inability to extend those leads and separate the game. And once you see a team not able to do that, I think any team in the NBA, and especially a team as experienced as Denver, they're going to take advantage of that. And, I thought the foul calls in the first half, listen, it's the NBA. I don't think that they didn't lose the game because of the officiating. Certainly didn't help with all the guys that were in foul trouble going into the second half. And I think that, to a certain extent, I felt like a couple of the early fouls, too, especially in the first quarter, was a situation of the Thunder being almost a little too aggressive, a little too amped up, which got him out of position defensively. And then you have to start reaching. And against a guy like a Jokic or against a guy like a Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, whoever, they know how to take advantage of that. They've been around the block. They're veteran players. And I think that it's going to be important come Sunday, not be almost too aggressive or too ready for the moment. Just let the game come to you. And I think that's what you saw in Game 5 when SGA was really good in being able to close the game out, especially in the fourth quarter for the Thunder. So it's going to be a long couple days until you get to Sunday, but I like where the Thunder are at. I mean, this is why you win 68 games. This is why you get home court advantage. And I think if you would have looked at the numbers before the series and said, this is what this is what J-Dub's going to be shooting, I think a lot of people would have thought this thing was going to be over in 6 and probably not
tough
for the good guys.
Yeah.
So thank God they got a Game 7. Thank God you got home court advantage. And Paycom Center should be unbelievable come Sunday.
I am curious to see what type of whistle Oklahoma City will get in Game 7.
Scotty Foster needs to come to
floor.
Oklahoma City.
They were doubled up from the free throw line last night by Denver. So all the free throw merchant haters on Twitter, I wonder what they're saying after game number 6. There were definitely some questionable calls. I think Hartenstein's third foul was extremely questionable. That said, you're going to get those in an NBA game, right? You can't put yourself in position, though, where you're already in foul trouble. And I thought they gave away a lot of cheap fouls in that game that I think are just magnified by maybe the questionable calls. The next thing you know, you're in foul trouble, and you're giving Denver a lot of extra points from the free throw line.
Yeah, you got your butt kicked at the free throw line, but listen, you got to make free throws if you're getting to the free throw line yourself. And that's something that kind of got lost in the mix in the first and second quarter. In the first half on Thursday night was the fact that I think the Thunder started 3 for 8 from the free throw line. SGA missed 2 at the charity stripe. So you got to take advantage of that. And, who knows? If you make a couple more free throws, all of a sudden that lead bounces up to 16, 17 points. And who knows? Let's
hear from Chet Holmgren on what he saw in game number 6.
That's a high-level game on the road right there. They came ready to play, and they came out swinging, throwing punches, and I feel like we did a good job of handling that first punch and then responding. And it was really a game of runs back and forth, but we have to figure out how to sustain that better throughout the game. We can't let them go on big runs, energy, momentum plays, and things like that. They're a really good team, and they make really good plays, but I feel like there were some that we left out there. Places I could definitely be better, where we could clean up, make things tougher on them. You can't give a good team easy looks.
Game of runs, and as we mentioned at the top, I think that run at the end of the second quarter, run at the end of the third quarter were the difference in the game. That is Eddie RADOSEVICH. I am Colby Daniels. We'll take a timeout. We'll start to spin it forward to Game 7 next here on the End Zone. Eddie RADOSEVICH from Soonerscoop.com and 107.7 The Franchise joins us on the End Zone this week. I'm Colby Daniels. Game 7, Oklahoma City versus Denver at the Paycom Center. Sunday, 2:30 tip-off. Hopefully this is a much prettier game than the last Sunday afternoon 2:30 tip-off in Denver, which was the just absolute gross, pitiful, disgusting Game 4 performance.
The outcome,
it was a great win, but it was not pleasant on the eyes over the course of 4 quarters. I've been saying this entire series, are we going to get consistently like J-Dub, Chet, and SGA, the Thunder Big Three, are we going to get any sort of consistency of those 3 guys playing well together? Because if that ever happens, look out, but we really haven't had it in this series.
No, they've had it in instances. I think that, when they went on the run to build the 12-point lead before halftime, you saw them playing collectively as a group. The ball movement was good. You're obviously making shots, which helps.
Yeah.
But I think that, the big thing going into Sunday is going to be J-Dub. And you look at the numbers, 9 for 22 in the restricted area, 3 for 11 in the mid-range, 7 for 32 from three-point range, 3 for 16, obviously, in the game on Thursday night. He's just got to get some shots to fall. Yeah. And I think that the most startling thing is just how many shots, not just J-Dub missed around the rim, but everybody missed around the rim. I think the Thunder were 50% on layups. You make half of those, you're probably in a much better spot going into the fourth quarter. And it's worrisome. It's a little bit bothersome almost. And especially if you're not going to shoot the ball, if you're not going to be able to get buckets to fall, at least get to the free throw line. J-Dub has 0 free throws on Thursday night in Game 5 or Game 6. So it's worrisome, but I do think that you come home, you're going to have a little bit better shooting night, right? I think that everybody shoots at home a little bit better. That's the cliche line in the NBA, especially some of the guys that maybe you weren't expecting to shoot the ball well on the road, whether it be Aaron Wiggins. Isaiah Joe's been kind of absent. I don't know really if he has a place right now in this series. I say that he'll probably have 45 on Sunday. That'd be fine. But you need some of those guys to make big shots. And I think that when you go back to even Game 5, it was Aaron Wiggins, it was Cason Wallace that were making big shots. Alex Caruso's had a pretty good series, series so far. He's a pretty good playoff overall.
100%.
But I didn't think that he had a great night shooting the ball on Thursday night. So you got to make buckets. You got to find easy ones too. And I know that's extremely hard to do, but Jokic is going to get his. And you just got to hope that maybe somebody like a Christian Brown or Strother doesn't have the type of night that they had. But in Game 7s, historically, you go back, Grant Williams with the Boston Celtics had, I think, 9 threes for the Celtics a couple years ago. You usually have one of those guys like, where the hell did that come from?
Isaiah Joe, perhaps?
Maybe it could be an Isaiah Joe. Maybe it could be an Aaron Wiggins. He missed some shots on Thursday night that I think he usually makes. So.
And especially role players being on your home floor makes a big difference. J-Dub last night talked about the Game 7 performance coming up and what he's got to do different.
Make shots. I think I got to spots I wanted to get to and they didn't go in. It's just how basketball works. But nah, not really. I think I had a good process of what I was doing. I just hurt us tonight not making shots.
I think the good thing there, Eddie, is he doesn't seem like he's panicked over what happened.
Sure.
I mean, he's kind of confident in just being able to just go do what he does on Sunday.
I like the confidence and being upfront about everything, but there's also a part of me, the pessimistic side of me that goes, is he in his own head? Does he, like admitting fault, do you all of a sudden start thinking about it more? Maybe this 48-hour layoff is going to be good for him going into Sunday. It also helps Denver a little bit, having played 15 games in the last 2 weeks basically. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I do think, though, that J-Dub needs to start hot. And if you can do that, if you can take the kind of what Chet was saying earlier, they took it a little bit in Game 6. I thought in Game 2 they came out, had a sense of purpose about them, and all of a sudden you saw the 40-point win. So it's a big game, and that's the one thing that you kind of fall back on is the fact that this group hasn't really been in these big games before, and when they have, it hasn't gone well, like a 3 for 16 on Thursday. So you got to hope that you shoot the ball better and certainly have a little bit more presence about you, especially there in the first half, because I thought digging out of a hole against a very veteran team in Denver, it's just kind of a tough thing to do.
100%. I think you want to see more killer instinct out of J-Dub, something that at least the leader has. SGA on Game 7 really shows that killer instinct.
It's going to be very fun. It's going to be the highest intensity basketball that you ever play. But at the same time, it's still just basketball. You have to go out there, have fun, play free, and let the chips fall where they may. But you have to play free and confident above all. Just do or die. It's what you live for. It's what you worked your whole life for. It's either your dream continues or your dream ends. So you lay it all out there on the floor and live with the results. But I'm excited for the opportunity for sure.
If that doesn't get you psyched
that's all
up,
I needed
right?
to
That's
hear.
all you need.
That's all I needed
he
to
says
hear.
That's what you live for, do or die moments. SGA on Game number 7, 2:30 tip on Sunday. That's Eddie RADOSEVICH. I'm Colby Daniels. It's Smash or Punt next here on the End Zone. Welcome back to the End Zone. Eddie RADOSEVICH is our guest this week. I'm Colby Daniels. It's time for Smash or Punt. So, Eddie, I will make a statement.
Okay.
If you agree with the statement, you're going to smash.
Okay.
If you disagree with the statement, you're going to punt that thing away and tell us why you,
That's easy.
you
I
either
can do
smash
that. I can
or
do
punt
that.
any of these. So this is obviously a Thunder-centric version of Smash or Punt as we're getting ready for Game number 7. So let's start on the negative side before we start being optimists.
I'm comfortable on the negative side.
Okay,
I've been very negative. I'm in a dark spot.
Appreciate this
I'm
part
in a
of
dark
it.
spot.
If the Thunder lose Game 7, big moves will take place this offseason, whether that's a coaching change, maybe they bring in a big offseason addition like a Giannis or a Kevin Durant, some of the names that are being thrown around on social media. But a big move or moves will happen if they lose Game 7.
I would say punt. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think that somebody asked me today, is like Mark coaching for his job? I said, I think I have a better chance of scoring in Game 7, like getting into the game than Mark Dagnall coaching for his job. Right. You won 68 games. Nobody will want to hear that around here, but this team is still relatively young, and I think that it's going to be a process to get over the hump if they were to lose on Sunday. If not, we'll go the other way, and we'll say this is the start of a glorious run to an NBA championship. But no, I think that they would stand pat. It seems like the moves that they made last year is more for the future than it was just to win this year. And as much as people won't want to hear it, I'm sure that's what Sam Presti would have to say at the exit interview.
Yeah, it's a punt for me as well. They're not doing anything. If you really think about it, one play difference in Game number 1, one play difference in Game number 3, and it's a sweep.
Right.
And they're already in the Western Conference Finals.
That will be the frustrating thing if they do get beat on Sunday. That's going to be the one that is going to be tough to stomach if they don't move on.
All right, we talked about J-Dub and his struggles in the last segment. So smash or punt, J-Dub will have a big Game 7 performance.
What's big? 23? Like 20 plus?
25-5. I think some key critical buckets in big moments.
I think he plays well.
Okay.
And what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? I said on radio on Friday morning, the thing that would really hurt is if he has like 32 and they still get beat, and it's like, oh. But I do think he comes back, he bounces back a little bit. He hasn't shot the ball well in this series, and I don't think that that's going to particularly change, but I do think the production number, the plus-minus number will be better. And he did distribute the ball pretty well on Thursday
10
night.
assists. That's right.
We'll see. He needs to have a bounce back.
We're going to smash J-Dub having a big Game 7 performance. All right. A lot of talk on social media about the calls in this series. I know from a Thunder fan's perspective, there's been a lot of complaining about the whining from Nikola Jokic, from Jamal Murray, from the Nuggets in general. So smash or punt, the Nuggets whine more about calls than the 2024 Dallas Mavericks did.
Ooh, yeah, I would smash that.
Well,
I mean, it's kind of unbecoming a little bit.
Okay.
I've always thought that Jokic is somebody that just kind of head down, doesn't really say a whole lot. He's been flailing quite a bit, and I think that I don't know if that's a little bit of an act to get an attention of the referees, and they certainly got some calls on Thursday night. But, yeah, I mean, I think that it's a very, I don't know, Denver's become kind of an unlikable fan base to a certain extent. Just seeing kind of the buzz out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Not too keen on Colorado. That's why I'm cheering for the Dallas Stars with Miko.
Oh, there you go. There you
go. I guess put it to the Avalanche somehow.
Transplant.
And the Rockies suck. It's a bad baseball team.
Just fired their manager, by the way.
Exactly.
I'm going to punt this. I do not think the Nuggets themselves whine more than Luka and the Mavs did last year.
That's fair.
But I will say, I think the maybe Nuggets fans and collective NBA fan base in this series has whined more than anything
Much
on social media last year. But the Nuggets themselves, Jokic does it more, I think, since Malone has been fired than he did before. So I think you do have a point about the way he's always gone about things. But, man, Luka was pretty brutal last year.
Luka's pretty brutal anytime, but he is a fantastic basketball player. Dallas, don't get me started on the lottery and all that. But, yeah, it's kind of crazy to think Mike Malone's been fired for, a month now? And they're a game away. And if Denver wins, I think the winner of this series is going to go to the Western Conference or to the NBA Finals and maybe have a chance to win the whole thing.
All right, Thunder are playing in the 2025 NBA Finals. Smash or punt?
Ooh, smash. I don't want to get run out of the city.
Okay.
Oklahoma City, got to win on Sunday, but I think they do get it done. Tight game. It's not going to be for the faint of heart, but I do think the Thunder get it out and or pull it out. And then we're on to Minnesota on Tuesday.
I'll go smash, but I think Minnesota's going to also take them to the limit.
Absolutely.
And that will be a very, very tough series. All right, and before we get out of here, Wallace, Caruso, and Wiggins, the three guys that come off the bench, I love the energy they bring. I nicknamed them the other night WCW Nitro. So smash or punt, the WCW Nitro nickname in reference to the old Monday Nitro wrestling.
Okay, I was going to say, was that a Sunday Night Raw thing? Because if it is, maybe that coincides with Sunday afternoon, just a little bit earlier kickoff. I think those guys have to play well, though, if the Thunder are going to win on Sunday. You saw how important those guys are in each one of the Thunder's wins so far this year, or in the series. Those guys have to play well, and I think that they'll bounce back. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, and I don't want to be too negative out there.
You're not completely living in the darkness.
Check me in an hour, I'll be on the other side.
There's light at the end of the tunnel for Eddie RADOSEVICH. All right, we're taking a timeout. Game 7 preview to wrap up the show next here on The End Zone. All right, welcome back one final time as we get ready for Game 7 in the Western Conference semifinals. Thunder Nuggets Game 7 Sunday, 2:30 tip-off from the Paycom Center. I do feel like we have worked out some of the demons from game number 6 today, Eddie.
Well, I think that at the same time, as bad as it sucks to lose a game and a closeout game and know that, maybe the series should be over, you're in a great spot still. All you got to do is go play 48 minutes of basketball. And, I think the best of the Thunder can beat this Denver team. It's not the Goliath that they have been in the past couple years. And in a strange way, maybe this is how this is supposed to be. You have to go through battles. You knew it was going to be hard. You're not going to win every game by 43 or 51, whatever it was in the first round. So I'm excited about it. I think there is a portion of me or a part of me that this is kind of how the playoffs are supposed to work. You're supposed to go through the doldrums of a series. You're supposed to go through the doubt as a fan. And we'll see. It does scare me a little bit. They're a 7.5-point favorite going into Sunday. I don't like that. Maybe the friends out in the desert will take care of that and bring that number down a little bit. But At the same time, this is a team that even after they lost game 1, they were still minus 350. I think they're still a favorite in the series. And if you play your best basketball, you should be able to get through this. And then, boy, Minnesota, that'll be a hell of a series. Whoever wins this series.
I think it might be even
great.
tougher than this series. But look, if you don't face adversity along the way, what's going to happen when you get to a championship setting and something happens?
And I think that's what you saw a little
That's
bit.
what this series is all about, absolutely. All right, Game 7, Sunday at 2:30. Eddie RADOSEVICH, I'm Colby Daniels. Everybody have a great weekend. We're back next week on The End Zone.